Hello there, welcome back to Beauty Bee. Now, a few weeks ago at this point, I put up a video entitled, I think, my 5 favorite bright lipsticks. And I thought it would be a good way to sort of work through my collection, talk a little bit more in detail about particular items that I really enjoyed that fit into a certain category. And in the comments to that video, Aging Ophelia suggested that I do one on my favorite fall eyeshadows. Now, I wasn't quite ready to talk or even think about fall at that point because I felt like summer just kind of disappeared. And I still kind of feel that way, but like it's September 10th, I think, as I'm filming this, so I kind of need to get past that. I don't think it's actually September 10th. I have no idea. Anyway, today we're going to be looking at my favorite fall eyeshadows. I've picked 5 neutral single shadows, 5 more colorful single shadows, and then 2 full palettes to talk about today. So I think we're going to start with the more neutral shades, and we're going to start with a shade from Cherry Crush. Now, this is not my favorite palette. I would not recommend this. I think it looks very same, especially within these 2 columns, and honestly even kind of across this row. I feel like there's about 3 shades. It's like you could cover 90% of this palette with about 3 eyeshadows. But the shade that I wanted to talk about today is Cherry Stem, which is probably the most different shade in this palette. This is sort of a mauve-y brown shade. And I find that this is just such a useful shade for this time of year. Also, that purple, I managed to just knock that against my arm, and now I have a big ol' stain. So, this is Cherry Stem. It's got some mauve to it, it's got some red to it. It's not crazy pigmented, which I actually like because that makes it easier to work with. I like having this kind of shade in the fall to blend out those somewhat more reddish or more warm-toned eyeshadows. And I think that this is just a great option. I think that this is probably the selling point of this entire palette for me. That and the pink background with the stars. So it doesn't have a whole lot to recommend it, but this is a really nice sort of neutral shade. My distinction between neutral and colorful in this video is going to get very confusing, I'm thinking, but oh well. Ooh, that just flew. So this palette really wanted to be the next thing that I talked about. Now, this entire little quad could probably be in this video as a great fall option, but specifically, I wanted to talk about this cooler of the 2 metallic shades. This is a bronze, and within the context of this palette, it looks pretty cool toned, but it's really a pretty standard bronze shadow. These bite-sized shimmers have just some creaminess, they have some oil to them. They actually feel quite a bit like the Pat McGrath shimmers for some reason. I'm not saying that they are equivalent, but they definitely do have a similar feel to them. They're a thicker eyeshadow. The shine is beautiful. It's just a really easy, pretty everyday option. I have worn this eyeshadow as a one shadow look many times. Sometimes I will just stick to the duos within this palette. I find that either of the duos works really nicely as not a one shadow, a 2 shadow look. Just overall, it's a really pretty little neutral shade. The next one, we're going to go in a pretty similar vein. This is from NYX, and it is from their Ultimate Utopia palette. And I really considered putting this shade in the video, this like green-brown duochrome, but what we're actually going to look at today is the shade at the bottom, which is like this green gold brown metallic. It is a super, super shimmery, sparkly shade. People want to use glitter glue. But look at that color. Isn't that stunning? And it becomes even more vibrant once you put it on top of the glitter glue. It's just blinding, but still so neutral. It has that little bit of green brown to it that just sells it for being a fall shade in my eyes. Okay, so we're down to 2 more neutral eyeshadows, and both of those are in my little palette of singles. The first one is from Lorac. This is from their Fairy Tale Forest palette, and I don't remember the name of the shade off the top of my head, but I will put it up above. It is this super grungy, like gray-green toned brown. It's very interesting. I don't have another shade like it. And it is this perfectly grungy neutral for fall. It just fits in with the color scheme that's going on. You know, it's not the most exciting shade, but it's a really, really functional shade. And I would say the same about this Natasha Denona Camel shade, which is my 5th neutral. This is a matte camel. I mean, probably not going to jump out at you, but it is such a useful workhorse shade this time of year. I have done one shadow looks with this. I've used it in my crease when I don't know what else to use that day. I've even filled in my brows with this a few times, which probably was not a great plan, but I did it, and it's really nice. The formula on it is great. It blends really easily. It builds up to a nice full opacity if that's what you're going for. It's just a great shade. Unrelated tip for the day: even if your makeup wipes are all dried out, you can just wet them and it brings them back to life. Additionally, even if your makeup wipes aren't dried out and they're just not quite doing what you need them to, wetting them really helps. Alright, now for the slightly bolder shades, we're going to start with a Super Shock. This is from the Tinkerbell collection, and this is Never Grow Up. It is this pretty pink berry shade, but it definitely does have a lot of berry to it. I am not wild about berry eyeshadows in general, but this has enough pink, enough purple to it that I really do like it. I think that this will be absolutely gorgeous as a lid shade, or, you know, if I want to fall up a little bit more of a pink eye look, I feel like this would be great to use just in the outer corner. The formula on these Super Shocks are pretty good across the board. I've been really happy with the Tinkerbell ones in particular, and no, it's not just because they have Tinkerbell on them, though that is a definite selling point. The quality on these, they're just really smooth. They have a nice amount of glitter that doesn't fall out all over your face, and they have some oomph to them. I mean, that's a really, really pretty little shade. Next up, let's go back to the Lorac Fairy Tale Forest palette. And again, I really should have grabbed this palette and just brought it with me to film, but I didn't do that. We have this gorgeous, grungy, lighter olive green shade. It is so pretty. I told you, the lines between the neutrals and the bolder or more colorful shades in this video are very blurred. That red is just going to keep looking more and more colorful the more I swatch. But there is that olive shade. It's super smooth. It's gorgeous. It has just the right amount of shine. I love this. It's so pretty. This is the first fall that I'm going to have that palette like through the entire fall. I think that I got the Lorac Fairy Tale Forest Well, I think I bought it right around Black Friday, so I would have got it right at the end of November, beginning of December, when it's still technically fall, but we've kind of moved past that into winter holiday vibes. But I think I'm going to wear this all the time. It is colorful, but it's a subdued enough color that I think I could wear it to work pretty often. Love it. So, so pretty. And let's see, now we're moving to Luxie. Let's go with another green. This is the shade Nymph. The other two shades that I have left are also from Luxie. So here is this beautiful, beautiful green. I think I could also have put this in like the winter version of this video, but something about these really bold jewel-toned greens just says fall to me. And this has a little bit of almost silvery shimmer to it. I am getting it all over my arm. It's really full color. It has a beautiful shine. Just a lovely, lovely shade. I feel like it doesn't look that fall in the context of the rest of these swatches. However, it's something that I see myself wearing quite a bit in the fall. So definitely earned its spot in this video. And honestly, I mean, look at that swatch. We should be talking about this more. I should be wearing this more. It's gorgeous. And like I said, the two remaining bolder shades are also from Luxie. First, we have Wild Child, which I almost think could have been in the neutral part of this video. This is really a difficult shade to nail down. It is purple and green and gold all at the same time. It has a beautiful, beautiful shift to it. This can be layered on other shades to transform them. It can be built up over glitter glue, or you can see here it's pretty without the glitter glue. I think these really shifty shades do lean fall for me. It's definitely when I think about wearing them most often. And I mean, this one is a gorgeous, gorgeous option. And then finally, for these individual shades, we have Joker from Luxie again. This is gray violet, but let me swatch and you'll see there's quite a bit of green there too. Well, I can see quite a bit of green. It's another super shifty shade. I'm seeing green now. Okay, you can also see some of the green there. Has some beautiful shift to it. I think this will be a gorgeous one shadow look for fall. I think it will pair beautifully with some of the more grungy mattes that I have. I am looking forward to fall now after filming this. Cannot lie and say that it's my favorite time of year. I am not a fan of cold, and I know that after fall comes winter, but I mean, look at these colors. And on top of the individual shades that I pulled for this video, I also pulled two palettes to talk about. The first is from Pat McGrath Labs. This is their Eye Ecstasy palette in Sublime. And this has minis of 5 of her individual single shadows that you can purchase. This is a very warm toned, somewhat neutral palette. I mean, there is definitely some color. This shade I feel always looks red on camera, but it is very definitely a duochrome that shifts sort of red to copper. You have a more bronzy shade, a more in between gold and copper, sort of a greeny gold, and then a brown. This brown is like a satin with some shimmer to it. I should swatch on my other arm. The quality on these is quite nice. They're really blingy shades, despite being overall a relatively neutral set of colors. I have no complaints about this. I just think it's such a lovely little palette, and one that definitely leans towards fall in my eyes. My favorite way to wear this palette has been using any one of the more metallic shades, so boom, 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 and then putting the brown in the outer corner. It's not a matte shade, but in contrast with the other shades in the palette, it almost reads as a matte in that way, and they blend beautifully together. It makes a really pretty gradient. It's a nice little palette. It's a nice quality palette, and though you wouldn't think necessarily that 5 pans of shimmer could sort of stand on their own to create full looks that aren't just one shadow, this actually works really well for that purpose because the brown is less shimmery, less metallic than all the other shades. After all that scrubbing with the makeup wipe, I'm thinking that the swatches on this, the Mandalorian palette from ColourPop are going to be really, really appealing, but just know that it does actually swatch really well, even if you don't have a wet arm and slightly wet fingers from your oversaturated makeup wipe. Here is what this palette looks like. This is just such a unique color story. It definitely is giving me fall with these sort of more pink toned browns. You have this grungy mustard shade, this green brown duochrome in Clan of Two, and this deeper take on silver. I mean, this Beskar Steel shade is, you know, like your standard super bright Diet Coke can kind of silver. This has a little bit more grunge to it. This is closer to being like Joker that we just saw from Luxie than a Diet Coke can, and the grungy vibes are here with this palette without being overdone. It's just so unique to what I see from other brands, and it really does suit The Mandalorian well, which I think is awesome. Gotta love Star Wars. I really do love Star Wars. It's like not actually normal at this point, but the palette itself is gorgeous. I think I'm gonna get a ton of use out of this fall. Let me swatch things. I mean, look at that. All of these shades work together. They all look cohesive, but yet they're all just a little bit different. There isn't anything else like this that I can think of except for kind of the Nomad from Juvia's had some similar ideas going on with the gray and gold, but this just takes it to a very different level, and I am into this. This is so pretty. I see myself using this all the time this fall, and if you have this palette as well, I hope that you'll pull it out and give it a go for fall too. I have my 12 picks for fall, 2 palettes, 5 more neutral shades, and 5 bolder shades. Hope you really enjoyed this video. I would love to hear what you're excited to use this fall, or if you do seasonal makeup at all, if you're just the same looks all year kind of guy or gal. Hearing about your guys' experiences with makeup. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed today's video, and I hope that I will see you all in the next one. Bye!